Okay, well, this is a bit of a spontaneous video, and I haven't really thought about how I'm going to put this together because I just felt like shooting it now. So, bit of history. I was diagnosed back in October with an eye disease, if you want to call it that, or complaint, called uveitis. This was something that I'd never heard of before, never experienced before, and actually just never thought something like that would appear in my life. Basically, uveitis came about by basically hitting me at a time when I was really stressed. I had a lot going on at work, I had a lot going on at home. I'd just completed 2 half marathons in the space of a couple of weeks, which for me was unheard of. And I'd had a very successful year at work. I'd stood up and delivered forums that I'd never done before. Took on a new team and never managed a team before. Lots of good positive things happening. A lot of stress as well. And then suddenly in October, completely out of the blue, I became ill with my eye. And the first signs were a week of a sort of dry eye, and I was like, my eyes feel a bit stingy here, like what's going on? But kind of just ignored it, I guess. Had a lot going on. We were delivering presentations at work with the team, and just kind of just brushed it off. After a while, a few more days, I started to get bloodshot eyes, or one bloodshot eye, and people at work had noticed it. And then it was starting to become uncomfortable around the eye area, around here. It was tender. I thought maybe it's a sinus infection or something like that. And then it got to the point where bright light was starting to hurt. The children at home would put the lights on, and I would say, turn the lights off. I can't stand it. I can't take this light in my eyes. And I had never experienced anything like that before. So I decided, better go and get it checked out. Rang the doctor. Doctor said, I think you should go to the emergency department for your eye. And so that's what I did. When I got there, there was all sorts of people sat there with eye injuries and looked like they were in a lot of pain. And to be fair, I actually thought that they were just going to turn around and say I was making a drama out of nothing, and that it was, some sort of sinus infection, and that, I was wasting people's time. As it happened, when they had a look at the eye, he said, have you got any underlying conditions? And I said, well, yeah, I have inflammatory bowel disease, but I've been in remission with that for some time. Nothing connected to the eye. And of course they said, well, that explains a few things. So with uveitis, it can be systemic. So it can be something that's going on, in the body, where there can be inflammation and the body can be attacking itself. So if you've got something like colitis, which is what I have, your body's, prone to attacking itself for no reason. And I thought, this is strange, but I've been in remission for a while. And at the same time, I was having some back pain. I had been no stranger to back pain. I've had on and off series of flares with my back since I was 24, now 38. And they would come and go, and to be honest with you, the majority of the time I would be fine. In the odd time, I would have some issues with my back and the SI joint at the back, between the back and the buttock. And just thought I had a weak back, and if I wore, heels for work and stuff like that, then, it was causing my back to have a flare up. And, I'd gone to the doctors a couple of times in the past, but sent me to physio, never really did much for me, and it kind of just didn't bother saying anything about it, because I knew that by the time I went to see someone, it would have repaired itself with ibuprofen, and there was no point really making a fuss about it. So my back was kicking off with this eye thing going on. It gave me steroids, so it was one every hour, not at the bedtime. So luckily I got some respite on a night time, and then I had another drop that I had to take 3 times a day, which was dilating the pupil to allow the pupil to, stay open and not to be contracting up and down, which is painful, but also to stop the pupil from sticking as well, and being misshaped. So that was quite a stressful time, having to go to work, putting these drops in, actually not being able to see much of a damn thing in one eye, and then having all the lights and what have you of an office shining down whilst trying to work on a computer was not exactly a nice thing. I also had to walk around with one huge pupil and one little one, which made me feel a little bit self-conscious. So I decided to tell everybody that I saw that I had a dodgy eye, before they saw it and thought, what on earth's going on there? So that was challenging, I must say. And so anyways, after a few weeks of tapering down off these steroid drops, I seemed to go away, got it checked, yep, it's on the mend, keep tapering the drops and then eventually come off them. I did that, and then I think by end of November, starting into the Christmas period just gone, 2019, everything seemed to be fine. And then I had the Christmas period and the busyness of, having two children and having to prepare for that and everything that goes on at work and all the parties and stuff like that. And was just getting back into the running again and the exercising and trying to kind of, get my fitness back up, because that had suffered a bit with having the problems with my eye and fatigue and all of that sort of thing. And then I had a nice Christmas. I mean, I had a virus, which kind of wiped the family out, but was still a relatively peaceful time where we had the time, although we were ill, to rest, recuperate, and basically, had a few days off work, and that was lovely. And then I went back to work, and decided to go on a sugar-free diet, which I do every now and again, because once the chin starts to come back, which it is at the minute, it's time to, knuckle down and get the weight off. So I had started with that, and it was about 12 days in when I started to feel really fatigued, and I got up out of bed and I said to my husband, I don't feel like I've actually been in bed. In fact, I feel like 10 times worse for, getting up. And I could see him looking, probably thinking, like, whatever, like, who goes to bed and wakes up, worse? So that was that. And then as the day progressed, I thought, there's something not right here. My eye feels a bit weird, gritty. Had a look in the mirror, and there was the redness coming back for uveitis. So that wasn't the best. Let's just say I was pretty upset to see that eye issue coming back. And, with uveitis, I had never heard of it before, but had learned a lot online after getting it. Can be dangerous, can be damage to the eye. It's important that you go and get your eye checked out as soon as possible if you're displaying any of the signs of uveitis. The signs for me were the red eye, so the blood vessels in the corner of the eye, which quickly, escalated over, 24 hours. Most of the eye was covered red, and then there was the pain again, the tenderness across the eye and under the eye. When you touched it, it felt really sore. And then came, the dreaded fear of the light. So even just opening up the fridge, the light coming off the fridge was agony. By the time I managed to get, that was a Saturday, by the time I managed to get to the hospital on the Sunday, because this eye department is closed over the weekend, it was at the point where it was still dark in the morning, and my husband was driving me to the emergency eye clinic, and even just looking at the moon had my eyes in agony. I'm sitting in the car with sunglasses on. You can always tell a person with uveitis in, the eye clinic, because they'll be sitting there with the sunglasses. And there was actually a couple of people in there when I got there with their glasses on. So that was nice. When I got there, I said, I think I'm having another flare. I've had this in October. They were quite surprised to see me again so soon. I had been told that these things can disappear for 18 to 24 months. I think that's the kind of average time it can go away for. Some people never get it again. I had gone to my doctor back in October when I was diagnosed with uveitis, and asked them to run a particular blood test for a gene called HLA-B27. Quite a mouthful. And I had learned about this gene just on doing a bit of digging around the internet when I got diagnosed with uveitis in October. I had seen a video that talked about this gene being connected to uveitis, being connected to inflammatory bowel diseases, and possibly connected to a back condition, inflammatory arthritis condition called Ankylosing spondylitis, which is another mouthful. I never considered myself somebody who had, any sort of arthritis in their spine or any sort of joint issues. Looking back, I can see some, areas where some times where I had issues with my back, but I never really thought too much about it, like I say. And there's this video saying you might have this gene with the uveitis, and if you've got, colitis and all of these things, then if you link them together, it can mean a diagnosis of ankylosing spondylitis. It can also mean many other things. So that kind of planted the seed. The gene had come back as positive for HLA-B27. So when I went this time with a second flare, I started to think, I'm sure this is, a good contender for ankylosing spondylitis in the spine, and that's probably what's causing the inflammation in the eye, which is weird because it's your eye and your spine, and you say that to people and they think, what's your eye got to do with your spine? Well, apparently quite a lot, in terms of your body attacking itself. If you have this gene, you're likely to have issues with inflammation in various parts. Some people have the gene, 8% of the UK would have the gene and have no issues whatsoever. And they think that perhaps some sort of microbe, some sort of virus or whatever, bug perhaps could trigger it in people with HLA-B27, and then the body attacks itself, which can come out in the eyes, in the back, in the joints of the ankles, the hands, all over the place. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I had the second diagnosis of uveitis in such a short space of time, and it was, very upsetting. Once again, the thoughts of, if I don't get this under control, will, I have damage permanently to my eye. As you can see, I don't wear glasses. I've never had issues with my eyes before, and then to be told that, this is sight threatening, if you won't get it under control, is a scary thought, especially when you're working on computers all day long and you think to yourself, well, if I'm no longer working on these computers, then where is my livelihood? Where is my career? When I've newly been promoted and taken on managerial work, and something that I wanted for a while now, and getting that break, and then suddenly your health is going downhill for one reason or the other. So I had been hassling my doctor a little bit to be referred to a rheumatologist to see if I had this issue with my back, and I had an appointment through over Christmas after I'd got the gene confirmed and everything. I had an appointment through for March with a rheumatologist through the NHS, and had thought to myself, well, I haven't had an issue with my eye since October. My back's been fine, I can wait till March. But then with a second flare happening in January, I thought, no, I need to get this sorted out. So luckily through work we have private healthcare, and I asked my doctor to refer me on to a private consultant rheumatologist, and within a month, throughout January, February, I saw this guy, and he knew from my doctor that I had the gene, that I had the uveitis, that I had the colitis, and that I was a contender for ankylosing spondylitis. So he did some examinations, how far can you bend forwards, backwards, and twisting the spine and all of those things, and then had said, in a letter, come back to say there was some limited movement in the spine in places. So he sent me for an MRI. I got the results back a couple of weeks later when I went in for a follow-up with the rheumatologist, and he said, you kind of suspected you had ankylosing spondylitis, so it's inflammatory arthritis, and you do have it. So you have inflammation in the SI joints, which, like I've said before, is kind of in the buttock area, and there's two different joints, left and right. Said that the right one was, considerably worse than the left one, and the left one still, showed some signs as well, which was kind of in line with what I had been saying to him when, we did a diagnostic sort of conversation with us. So that kind of brings us up to date now. And it's been, I wouldn't say it's been a shock, because I kind of done a lot of investigating online. I joined many forums for ankylosing spondylitis and for the gene as well. And so, it wasn't a shock, but it's not nice to know that you've got a disease that's degenerative and like long term. You don't know, what condition you're going to be in. Luckily for me, mine is mild, so the back issues are very few and far between. The eye issues, who knows? Currently, I'm tapering off the drops for the episode that I've had in Feb, and when the next one will come, I don't know. The eye people have told me that with my gene, it's likely that it'll keep occurring from time to time, and that we just need to treat it aggressively. And now I have the ankylosing spondylitis. My consultant's sending me for physio this week. So it's only diagnosed literally a handful of days ago. It was Friday. It's now Wednesday. And he's sending me for physio tomorrow. So we'll see what the physiotherapist has to say about that. What exercises I get to try and keep my body from being stiff. And I really want to get back into being really active. So I'm putting on a bit of podge at the minute. That's not usually there. I tried to start getting into a good eating pattern and exercise pattern after Christmas, but then with the eye going again, it's kind of all gone a bit Pete-tong. So this is where we are. This is the whole point of the video. It's going to be a little diary. I don't know if I'm going to keep this for myself, so I can look back and see, where I was today and where I will be in, 2-3 months' time. If I feel like it, I may stick this up on YouTube and see if there's anybody who can identify with this. And, once they kind of connect, they've got AS, they've got uveitis, they've got colitis, and, we want to kind of learn a bit more or, interact a bit, then, we'll see whether I put this on or not. But for now, that's the update. I'm at my local running club tonight. I actually lead some of the sessions from time to time. I'm not the fastest runner, and like I say, I haven't been particularly active of late, but when you're leading a session, that's not too bad, because you get to stand and shout, well done and keep it up and all of that. So it's not like I'm going to be running, round and round and round and exhausting myself, so I should be able to get away with that. But I would like to get my fitness up and get out, 3 times a week. My husband has a turbo trainer in the spare room, and I do go on that from time to time. But with the fatigue, it's been hard. I've had a cold and stuff recently, and because of that, I've not wanted to really get anything done. But now I am up for getting myself fit. It's the 19th of February, so we are a matter of weeks away from the lighter nights, lighter mornings. I've always been one for getting up 5 o'clock in the morning and doing a run or doing a cycle or whatever. Love it when it gets light outside and and get up and do things. And so I'm really looking forward to the warmer weather. And I'm hoping I can pull myself out of this rut that I'm in at the moment, because this hasn't been me for the past couple of years. I've bkind particularly active. They do say with ankylosing spondylitis that the more active you are, the better it is for your joints, and that you kind of can be symptom free. They also say diet wise, if you cut out sugars and also reduce starch, then you can have a pretty good life with AS. Some people say that's the case for them. Some people say it doesn't make a difference, and some people are on some pretty hefty medicine. I'm not at that point yet, so I'm hoping if I can reduce inflammation through diet and exercise, then we can keep away from some of the hardcore medicines down the line that have risks in themselves. So we'll see how this goes. Might be the only video I ever make, or I may keep this as a regular thing. And so, that's it from me for now. So catch you later.